Good morning, people. Today is, whoa, what happened? There we go. Let there be light. Today is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. It is just about 6 o'clock here in southwestern Nevada. My name is Edward Bevilacqua, and this is the Department of Career Services, where our goal is to help our students and other interested people on their journey through this life. The goal being at the end to be able to have no regrets, to say, I fought the good fight, I ran the good race, etc., etc. No regrets, taking the gift of life that we have been given and showing that we appreciated it, and making the giver of the gift glad that they did so. You know, we've always given people, all of us have given people a gift, and the response to the gift was not expected. And good morning, Wadabebi. Speaking about gifts, hopefully you weren't too disappointed when you opened it up and it was like, what? I will be sending you your stuff now that I know it works. Some of the stuff here, but we have to talk about it because I think you're traveling light these days. So the question is, what stuff would Wata Bevi have any interest in having back there? So, but we can talk about that thing a little bit later. So how is life in Florida? Whatever feels right. That's what life is like back there. Okay, dude. Bootyful, right. Okay, so whatever feels right is probably not right. Day 2 of Juice Fast. Boom. Yes. Edward and I did that. That was one of those pivotal points that changed my life. Or yesterday, I had the doctor come to me from Medicare to do their thing, and very encouraging that yes, my health is better than most people in their 20s and 30s. That's more a reflection on them than me, though. I'm on a delay. I was saying it can send whatever feels right to send. LOL. Okay, good. LOL. Wow. Alrighty, so here we are, day 2. We're going to be talking about, this is week 1, day 2 of our 4-week neuroscience program. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of IQ. Had a very interesting class last night in my ministering at the margins. I perhaps went a little bit too far in that I talked about a project I had wanted to do for several years, which is a prayer line for people in prison. We call it a prayer line, but it's a line for people who are in prison and they are kind of hard timing it to be able to call in for about 10 minutes to be able to chat. So I sort of was a little bit critical of my classmates that everybody talks about, yeah, I'm trying to get in the prison. I want to go in and do this and that, but I can't get anybody to do a prayer line, which is so easy. You just have to say Tuesday from 8 to 9 or 7 to 8. I'll be available for calls. And I said, everybody thinks it's a great idea for somebody else to do. And then somebody said, so that was kind of like the who's going with me, the Jerry Maguire. And somebody said, I will do it. Rebecca said, Lancaster. I'll do it. And then everybody else jumped in too. So now I got to figure out how to actually implement this thing given my time. And the answer is get help. Okay, so that's kind of what we do here. That is kind of what we do. It's replace habits with better habits. In fact, that's the whole point of moving forward in your journey. We are creatures of habit. We've all heard that term. We're creatures of habit. Yeah, our brain has been able to learn to do things unconsciously. So we can be driving a car and having a conversation with somebody while we're eating a hamburger and answering our phone text messages. All of that, and be able to drive relatively safely on the road. Why? Because our brains have evolved to do that. So we should further develop the ability to be doing one thing consciously and something else not consciously. And I think the statistics are something like 97.5% of our behavior is subconscious. It's not conscious behavior. We just do it. We don't have to think about doing it. We don't have to think about walking, breathing. We just do stuff automatically. So this podcast is a conscious thing of replace habits with better habits. And good morning, Matt. Good morning, Matt. The Field Marshal. Okay, so replace habits with better habits. Get in the habit of being here every day at some point during the day. And that too should be part of the routine. At 6 a.m., I'm there. At 9, at 10, at 12, at 3, when I'm on the bus, whatever. Replace habits with better habits. How do you create a habit? Routine, routine, routine. Let's talk about IQ. But first, Johnny, what else is on worksheet? So the worksheet is the key thing. Replacing habits with better habits is the practical thing to do. But the guts of it, where's the beef, is in the worksheet. That's the beef. The practical benefits are the routine and creating habits, but really the work is in the worksheet. And so we have advice from an 80-year-old. Compliment the meal when you're a guest in someone's home. Right. Simple thing to do. Hey, that was a good meal. Thank you. I really appreciate it. That makes people feel good, and it puts you in a better light. Hey, that's a guy. We're going to invite that guy over for dinner. And what's the practical benefits of that? Food, fellowship with other people. Okay, cool. So, compliment the meal. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Everyone else is seeking comfort. What we want to do is be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We don't get in the car and the first thing we do, adjust the seat to exactly how we want it, put the air vents exactly how we want it, make sure the radio is exactly where we want it. We don't want to be that person. We want to be the person that just gets in the car and let's go, baby. Let's go. Seth Godin's talking about bullies today. Bullies, not sure why, but he talks about bullies. The key thing for today, though, our topic is wait for it, IQ, the importance of IQ. And what strikes me the most humorously is the people who are the least educated feel IQ is not that important. So for example, Friday morning it was a nice lively discussion at breakfast. Good guy. And we started talking about IQ in schools like Stanford, and it was kind of amazing to me how the person I'm talking to really didn't think there was a difference between Stanford and UNLV and perhaps CSN. Thinking that you have better teachers at Stanford, so you have better output. Not thinking that the students are what makes the difference. the students attract better teachers because they're more interesting, because they can accelerate the pace and distance the class goes. And so we spent about most of the time in this discussion of me defending IQ, even to the point where the person brought up his point was the Army is proof that you can train anybody to do anything and IQ is not important. And then negating the fact that, well, to get in the service, you have to pass the ASVAB. And if you don't get a certain score, which I think in today's TED Talk, Jordan Peterson will talk about, I think it's like 87 or 85. If you don't have an IQ of that, the Army, the military will not take you. It is illegal. Why? Because there's nothing you can do. Further on down the line, Jordan Peterson makes a point of saying that about 10% of the population is unemployable because they just aren't smart enough. So what do we do about that? And it's not the case that people can be trained to do anything. Now you go the other direction in that, the people who are really, really, really smart, so if you get with some brain surgeons or rocket scientists against normal people with around an IQ of 100, up to 105, will say, yeah, he's just a rocket scientist. He's just a physicist. There's something wrong with him. He might be really smart, but he's not that valuable to us. We are the valuable ones because we're not lost in our head. Again, negating the importance of IQ. So for our purposes, our class, the key thing about IQ is know your IQ. And every month I say the same thing. This is a problem for us because virtually everybody we have had in our program since 2012, for the last 12 years, virtually everyone believes they have a high IQ. Now, but when I say that, I say virtually everyone, but the non-virtually everyone part, the other people are afraid to take the IQ test because they think they're really, really dumb. And the fact that, the truth is they're not as dumb as they think they are. But if you go around thinking you're really dumb, how is the world going to appear to you? And how are you going to participate in the world? So that's a problem. So when the people who think they're geniuses take the IQ test and they find out they're sub-average, they think the test is wrong. They don't want to go back and say, what can I learn from this? Boy, this is the Wonderlic test that Jordan Peterson is talking about. It's given to me properly, like 12 minutes. I'm following the protocol to take the test, and I'm coming up to have less than 100, where I believe that my IQ is actually 1 million. Well, let's just say 140, 150. I believe my IQ is 150, and the proof of that is I was so smart, school was so boring, I dropped out because I couldn't learn anything. I knew more than the teachers knew. So school was boring to me and I dropped out. And if I wasn't a genius, I wouldn't have dropped out. So since the fact is I did drop out, that proved that I was a genius. Therefore, this test is wrong. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And the way Jordan Peterson breaks IQ down to fluid and crystallized, and makes the point that the SAT, ACT, LSAT, ASVAB, it's the MCATs, all of those measure crystallized knowledge, what you actually know. And the point being, you can't get into Stanford unless you know this much. You could have the ability, the fluid intelligence, the ability to be able to learn could be off the charts. Somebody shows you how to do something once, bam, got it, okay. But the quantity of what you know is very limited, and you can't get into Stanford if you don't know the stuff. So an example would be if you don't know the chart of all of the elements, what's that called? If you don't know that, if you don't have a concept of hydrogen, helium, etc., if you don't know what those things are, you're not going to be able to pass a science class at Harvard or Stanford. If you can't write properly, if you don't know math to a certain level, they can't accept you because you can't do the work. Not because you're not smart enough to do the work. You don't have enough knowledge how to do the work. If you don't speak English and they require you to speak English to go to Stanford, it doesn't really matter how smart you are. Yes, the periodic table. Thank you, Watabevi. Right. If you don't know the periodic table, you're not going to get into Stanford. If you don't know how to speak English, and let's say you only can speak one dialect of Eskimo, and if they don't have any classes that teach that, or that classes where that is the language the class is taught in, if they don't have that at Stanford, guess what? You're not getting in. It doesn't matter that you're the world champion seal harpooner. No offense. So crystallized knowledge is important. People who did not do well in school don't have the same crystallized knowledge. It's not a value judgment. It doesn't mean you're not good, worthy, better, etc., able to figure things out. It doesn't mean you can't do any of that. It just means the amount of knowledge you have is very limited. So Jordan Peterson really breaks this down today. And so the point, our point in it would be, one of our points in it would be, always be learning. A, B, C. Always, A, always, B, B, C, learning. Always be learning. That's sort of from Glengarry Glen Ross. It's actually the Saturday Night Live Christmas version of that, Santa's workshop. Okay, well, we're at 17 and a half minutes. My apologies again for the length of this. We're going to try to keep them down to 10 minutes, really pushing people to go to the worksheet, but reinforce the value of showing up every day, replacing habits with better habits. That's what it is. So today I'm off at about 8 o'clock to Las Vegas. Have a couple things to do. Right, always be cobbling. A, always be, B, C, selling. No, cobbling. Always be, oh, closing. That was the original Glengarry Glen Ross. Always be closing, which he converts to always be cobbling. Okay, well, thank you both for being there. I have this idea that Atticus von Atticus, his habit is I'll sign on and then I'll go back and do whatever I was doing before. So always be closing. Right. Always always be B, C, closing. Always be closing. So in closing, home, as we do on Zipellaton. Heather will be joining us. Good. Great. That's super. Very excited about that. And anyway, so thank you all for being there. My apologies for the length of it. Big day. Let's go out and make something happen. Shalom. Shivas and shalom. Bye. Bonk. Oops. There we go. Bonk.